Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining this important event at the Center for Korean Studies. My name is Taeyong Baek, a professor of law at the William S. Richardson School of Law, University of Hawaii in Mānoa. I'm today the moderator of this event, but I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to meet with my old friends and also my colleagues here. And especially today, as a 1-year anniversary of the somewhat unfortunate event that had happened in South Korea, martial law declaration, and also the coup d'etat attempt. 1 year ago, South Korea has seen really unfortunate event, unsuccessful coup attempt by President Yoon Suk Yeol. He declared a nationwide state of emergency, martial decree, in violation of the Constitution and the Procedure of Martial Law Act. And the nation actually entered into a serious challenge. Fortunately, the martial law and the insurrection concluded amid the National Assembly's swift response and nationwide resistance to restore constitutional order. I have taken this video clip. This is the moment when National Assembly passed the impeachment bill on December 14th, 11 days after the coup d'etat. I was there with 3 of my law school colleagues. Can you show the photo? Yeah, it was a really cold winter days, and my colleagues from law school, Carol Peterson and Charlie Booth, actually were in Seoul for Asian Law and Society Conference. And in the middle of the conference, we agreed to go to Yeouido, and I told them they should prepare a thick jacket, and they actually brought everything to that conference in Seongkyungwan University, and we went there. So we could not go in the middle of the demonstration because on that day, hundreds, thousands people were there. But fortunately, we were together and we witnessed everything. After this event, Yoon Suk Yeol was impeached, and the new president, Lee Jae Myung, became the leader of the country. This event will rethink what had happened in South Korea in terms of the crisis and overcoming the serious challenge to Korean democracy. I'm very happy to be able to invite Professor Han In-seop, who is an emeritus professor of Seoul National University. As you know, he is a very demanded speaker these days and real celebrity in YouTube media these days. He has appeared in Kim Ho-jun show, what's the name of it, and also Mebul show, etc. And he seems to be very, very humorous, but made very important comments. And in fact, during the process of overcoming the martial law and impeachment, and then also through the process of election of new president, his SNS message actually were influencing the whole society, including politicians, scholars, and all the other civil society members. So he's my old colleague and my senpai, 선배. So I'm so glad that he agreed to come here when I twisted his arm to come. Yeah. And as our discussant, Mrs. Moon Kyung-lan, who was a former standing commissioner of Korean National Human Rights Commission, she had also served as a chair of a Human Rights Commission of Seoul City. And before all these careers, she had served as a reporter of a Jungang daily newspaper, and still very active as a member of a civil society organization. So she will also serve today as a discussant. Furthermore, we are very fortunate to have two very important discussants, Professor Yu Ju-sung and also Dr. Lee Yu-bong are visiting scholar at the law school, and I invited them to the law school as a visiting scholar, and they agreed to serve as a discussant. Last semester, I had the fortune to work with them. We met every other week to discuss the Korean law reform, especially the reform measures for criminal prosecutorial system and the cooperative relationship between police and the prosecutor in the United States. And we are planning to contribute to the ongoing reforms in South Korea. And I now see another member of our study group, Mr. Jae-young Lee, and also another visiting scholar, Park Jun-hyung at the law school. And all four, including myself, five visited the prosecutor's office here in Honolulu County, meeting the first deputy and other people to discuss the way how U.S. legal system works, and also to compare the important aspects of criminal justice. So overall, this is a very good opportunity for us to think about the historical event and also ongoing challenges and maybe the future of Korean democracy. So I will invite Professor Han-in Seop as our main speaker first.
Yeah, it's a nice moment to meet you here without any more martial law and without the presidency of Yoon Suk Yeol. Yeah, today I want to introduce what Korean people challenged and achieved something, and what kind of task we are waiting for. What's this? It's my book. 40 years long, I have served as a professor, and 30 years long, I served as the professor of Seoul National University law faculty. And the final day of my 40 years long final day, the Yoon Suk Yeol proclaimed emergent decree, and I decided in my mind I have to fight against them, and I have to defeat such an dictatorship, and without it, my future, there is no more my future. And I wrote and I broadcast by my mainly by my Facebook message, and what have to we do in order to defeat the such a martial law system. And the decisive moment was the Constitutional Court decision, April 1st, of this year. As soon as the Constitutional Court decided, I just finished my book. The title is Beyond the Martial Law and Beyond the Insurrection. And what's this? This book is translated into Chinese Taipei. And this week, on the first anniversary of the overcoming martial law, the book was opened to Taiwanese audience. Taiwan has had the similar experience as the Korean people. They experienced a long time martial law period, and they have to defeat such a new kind of democracy. And Chinese Taiwanese audience can have the similar feeling. The first martial law in the year of 2024, it is very difficult to prevent a coup carried by the president because the incumbent president can mobilize the military and police very easy. And to spread information about the national crisis is possible. And since the media easily seized and choose the timing as they like. Around the world, presidential self-coup have recorded success rate of over 90%. But, however, in South Korea, it failed. My main question is why? The first, when we heard the first news on martial law, what's the martial law? Now, I have experienced martial law year at the age of mid 60s, but 40, 30, 20 years old. What's the martial law? And the fake news? Yoon is completely crazy, completely mad. But what martial law news is very terrifying. And what shall we do? What can I escape from the terrifying situation? That's the first response is. But the politicians rushed to the National Assembly. One assemblyman said he drive a speed of 150 kilometers. Immediately expressing opposition through SNU and YouTube, they quickly gathered. And within 2 hours and 30 minutes, they succeeded in passing the resolution to lift the martial law. Lee Jae Myung, everyone knows him, and the first expression is, please help us, citizens of Korea. We must protect this country. Even though it is late at night, please come to the National Assembly. This is a real emergency. The ruling party leader, Han Dong-un, exceptionally expressed his idea. This declaration is wrong. I will stop it together with the people. How about the citizens? Citizens acted with the speed of light. Citizens acted more swiftly than the martial forces. And citizens rushed National Assembly and physically blocked the entry of troops and spread the news of protest in real time through SNS and YouTube live broadcasts. It's a night of the martial law declaration. Citizens rushed in front of National Assembly. This is National Assembly. Yeah, the troops broke the window, and the helicopter comes. The citizens blocked the troops with their body. And this is a goodbye after the National Assembly lifted the martial law and the troops withdraw away, and the citizens and goodbye. And the speaker, National Assembly Speaker, declared the martial law is now void. And military and police leave the assembly ground immediately and return to your posts. The possibility of a second martial law. Yoon tried to second or third martial law, but he attempted but could not. Why? Kim Yong-hyun is the aide and my Minister of Defense. He called the situation 중과부적, means they were overwhelmed by civil strength, and they tried, but now impossible to sustain martial law any further against the enemy. Who is the enemy? The enemy is people. What element blocked the possible second martial law? First, the constitutional rule to follow National Assembly's demand to lift martial law cannot be ignored. Second, very embarrassing to Yoon, the military has already withdrawn without waiting for president's order. And so re-entry is unlikely. Cabinet no longer support continuing martial law. The dispatched the martial law troops attitude was quite very different than old times. They appeared reluctant and confused rather than violent and repressive. They tried to avoid direct clashes with citizens and withdraw promptly after Assembly's resolution. What did Mr. Han In-seok do at the time? I wrote. As a law professional, I wrote and wanted to define this kind of martial law is like. The title is "The President Destroyed the Constitution." It's just 30 minutes after the declaration, and I think the first legal definition of the situation, I expressed the strongest expression. President destroyed the Constitution. If the Yoon Suk Yeol's martial coup succeeded, my next step is to be arrested by this. What's the content? President martial law is a clearly constitutional violation. And there was no legal basis like war and armed conflict. If assembly demands martial law lifted by majority, the president must obey. Blocking lawmakers or stopping assembly itself crime of insurrection. Anyone disabling the assembly and the president's order is an accomplice to the crime of insurrection. Any officer who aids this is criminally liable. I want to teach the military and the police officers to warn that any kind of help can be criminal. By this message, I defined this is unconstitutional. This should be impeached. This is a crime, belongs to crime of insurrection. And the public persons have to disobey it. And this is, I think, pivotal importance to the definition of the situation. My argument were on the news. And we organized we are involved in making urgent assembly forum, not one, but a series. This one, like this. On the Korean Constitutional Law and the Korean Martial Act, Korean Constitutional Law, Article 77, in time of war, armed conflict, or similar national emergency, President may proclaim martial law. But Yoon explained why he proclaimed martial law. There is no comment on North Korean military intimidation. Only the opposition parties overreach like that. I want to guide you on deeper background knowledge on swift reactions of citizens and assemblymen. Citizens, opposition lawmakers are ready. 2024 general election gave the opposition the large majority. And the opposition party repeated pre-crisis warnings about possible martial law. And they are prepared for basic contingency plans within the National Assembly. They are ready. Citizens are also ready. The first is a lesson from May 18th, 1980. Long-term civic memory of Gwangju uprising taught that the Gwangju citizens were defeated by the military. But even defeated resistance can delegitimize military rule and can punish coup actors and rehabilitate democratic resistance. Such a lesson was embedded in the norm of immediate popular resistance to coup. I want to introduce one old professor. Old professor's couple confronts martial law troops in front of National Assembly. She meant, we couldn't offer any help during 1980. But now, my husband and I are 73 and 70. We have lived long enough. If we are to die here today, we have no regrets as long as we could protect democracy. Do you know the movie Soul Spring? So the effect of the movie Soul Spring reconstructs one day the 1979 military coup that crushed Korea's brief democratic opening. The story highlights heroic figures who resisted and died fighting the coup forces. It vividly educates the younger generation about what martial law. Without this movie, younger generation cannot know what really martial law is. But the movie about 13 million citizens watched this movie. And what martial law really means, they can realize. The second is, Hangang. Hangang was a Nobel Literature Prize. He's the most famous novel. Korean title is 소년이 온다. The boys came. The boys is coming. The boys will come. But the English title is Human Act. I don't know why this kind of title is made. Now, Hangang asks, can the past help the present? Can the dead save the living? And why is the world so violent and painful? And yet, how can the world be this beautiful? The boy. The boy means the boy who fought against the military and the dead in 1980. And on this conference, and the surviving members at the 1980 Gwangju meet the December 3rd third members in the National Assembly, and one testimony is that had the martial law troops seen empty provincial hall, neither the Gwangju spirit or nor Korea democracy would exist today. The citizens' resistance on 2024 was not a break from history, but the renewed defense of democracy, carrying the legacy of the Guangzhou Rising. That means the past helps the present. How about the Yoon and martial law planners? When I see the first proclamation, the first is to ban the political activity of the National Assembly. To open the National Assembly. It's first. When I see the proclamation, I held because the number one means itself constitute of crime of insurrection. Any president, any military leader block the National Assembly, it constitutes the crime of insurrection. And the Article 82, the president's official act should be in writing and countersigned by the prime minister and the relevant council members. And in the 1980 martial law, in the case of 1980 martial law, but the last Yoon's martial law case, there is no document like this. That means he's a one of real ringleader of the coup. He confessed recently. No one in the military had ever experienced martial law. The military had never trained for military operations. And no real military preparation. It means president and military lacked lawful grounds, professional planning, and internal conviction. Yeah, that's a great difference. Citizens and national assemblymen and military groups. The next step is impeachment process. No, in the National Assembly, impeachment bill was made in opposition party is totally 192 plus 12 ruling party members are joined, and more than 2/3 the bill was passed. Yeah, April 1st, the President Yoon shall be removed from the office. I want to suggest some citations from the ruling of Constitutional Court. Even if Yoon's claims of opposition party overreach and attempts to restore national order were true, such intentions ultimately inflicted immeasurable harm on democracy. The National Assembly was able to swiftly pass a resolution thanks to the resistance of citizens and the passive performance of military and political details. The passive performance of the military. For example, without them, the insurrection would be succeeded. What is they? Colonel Kim Kim refused to approve unclear helicopter deployment into Seoul area. Second, the colonel is rerouted units to avoid clashes with civilians. Third, the Jo Seung-hyun blocked additional troop deployment and promptly withdraw forces after National Assembly resolution. All telling the truth as they knew at the court, criminal court. How about the effect of constitutional court decisions? There was a great clashes between pro-Yoon and anti-Yoon. But after the constitutional decision was broadly accepted and paved the way. That means the constitutional court succeeded in persuading people. And the next step is the very fast pavement to new presidential election. Now key figures are detained. Key military and police figures are under arrest and stand trial for their role in the coup attempt. But in the case of Yoon, it's very complicated. Attempted to arrest, next is arrest and detained, the next is released and arrested. And immediately after the warrant of detention was issued, rioters entered into the courthouse and destroyed. It's a first moment of violent destruction. Now it's a three special prosecutor acts is made and implemented. The Yoon's lawyers exercised very diverse legal tactics. Now, prosecutor's office is demanding urgent need of fundamental reform of prosecutor's authority. And the courts also face deep mistrust, and they failed to denounce the legality of martial law in real time. Now, yesterday, the court members declared the martial law decree was illegal and unconstitutional. After 1 year, they declared, and it's one of the great one of the reasons of deep mistrust. Overall assessment. Some person comments on Korea's situation as shameful. My answer is no. It was National Assembly that overturned it within 2 hours. And people who rose up and stood firmly against it. It proved once again the cultural strength of the nation. Second question, dangerous? Korea is dangerous? nation? No. Large-scale rallies proceeded peacefully and joyfully, like a festival. The only blemish was unprecedented attack on the court. Those responsible are now being punished. Political unstable country. In the last 25 years, three presidents faced impeachment motions, two were actually removed from office. It's evidence of a political unstable. My answer is no. This shows President's 5-year term is not guaranteed unconditionally, but rather responsibility that must be fulfilled diligently. Even during the impeachment process, our country's political, security, and economic systems have proven resilient and sustainable. Who has the ultimate decision power in politics? Ultimate arbiter is not the assembly, not the constitutional court, but the general will of the people. One citizen told the Moon Hyung-bae, acting chief president, chief justice of the constitutional court, Judge, you saved our country. The Moon replied, no, it was people who saved the country. If the people didn't rush out at the moment, do you really think martial law would have been lifted? The case came to the Constitutional Court, and we just gave legal approval to the people's will. How could 8 judges possibly save the country? What kind of lessons have the impeachment decision left in our society? The Justice Moon Hyung-bae said, there was martial law in 1980 and again in 2024, but the result was quite different. All the times we lost, but now we won. I believe this is because democracy has now taken firm root. To try to turn the back, it's impossible. The most common language about the Korean democracy, most cited language is resilience. Yeah. The recovery power of Korean democracy. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Take a seat over there, please. So it was a wonderful presentation, and please give a big applause one more time to our speaker. As a moderator, I made a terrible mistake today. First, I forgot to, recognize the work of our CKS staffs. So Jae-hee, Dong-yeon, and other people worked very hard. So please give up applause to them as well. And furthermore, I forgot to mention our dear leader, Sang-yeop Lee, the director of this center. So even if it is belated, I will ask him to come forward to say a few words. Please.
I don't have anything to say. Just I want to say, I want to echo what you said. I was a year ago, I was in Japan and presenting in the morning, 10 a.m. And the day before, actually, the martial law was declared. And the people actually didn't ask me about my presentation. They asked me about the martial law, so I couldn't answer anything about that. But it was a moment. Many people actually asked, what happened in Korea? How come it happened, right? So it's my honor to actually have Professor Han to answer those questions and all these, renowned professors and fellows. By the way, my name is Sang-yeop Lee. I served as the director of the Center for Korean Studies for 5 years. but suddenly, actually, I'm serving as acting director right now. So it's like martial law, but so anyway, my term ends in the December. So we'll have a new director. Again, thank you for coming. I mean, it's my honor. Okay, thank you.
So let's continue with discussions. Mrs. Moon Kyung-nan will speak now.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Moon Kyung-nan. Thank you for inviting me to this meaningful forum. I fully agree with Professor Han's views. I want to talk about something special, the cultural side of the Yoon Suk Yeol impeachment rallies and what they us about Korea's democratic future. To save time, I read the script that I have prepared. So cute, yeah. The Yoon Suk Yeol impeachment rallies introduced a new cultural repertoire of political protest called the Right Stick Rally, which immediately captured global attention. The Right Stick Rally refers to a novel form of demonstration where participants wave idol group right sticks and collectively sing along. Citizens of all ages and genders danced excitedly, sang songs, chanted slogans, and expressed their voices together. Moreover, the rally involved the women in their 20s and 30s leading the surrounding environment. Right sticks have long symbolized the identity and the sense of belonging into idol fan clubs, with each group having its own unique shape and colors. There are countless varieties of right sticks. When democracy was threatened by the December 3rd martial law decree, women in their 20s and 30s gathered at the rally site with their most cherished right sticks. The diverse right sticks emitted a wide variety of different colors, but uniting into a magnificent ocean-like wave, the breathtaking spectacle. They became unquenchable, steadfast light and a symbol of solidarity against violence. Young people found solidarity and shared inspiration at these right stick rallies. Yeah, so many right sticks. Yeah, the young people decorated the right sticks. Yeah, yeah. One key factor that made the right stick rallies such an enjoyable cultural event was the presence of popular K-pop hits. Songs like Girls' Generations into into the New World, G-Dragon's Crooked, and Rose's Apartment echoed throughout the rally site. However, participants also sang traditional protest songs like Morning Dew, March for the Beloved, and Farmers' songs, which created a refreshing cultural contrast. The mingling of songs sung by both young and older generations created a wonderful scene of intergenerational solidarity. The various colorful flags waving at the rallies were definitely one of the eye-catching sights of the right stick protests. Creative and amusing names for imaginary groups like the Eldest Daughters Alliance of Gyeongbuk Province, who came without their parents knowing, caught people's attention. See the name of the flaggers. Yeah. A secret, yeah. National Hardcore Iced Americano Drinkers Association. Yeah. 얼주가, Korean name. 얼주가, yeah. Let me talk about women. Let me talk about the women in their 20s and 30s who were the driving force behind the twirling stick rallies. In the early impeachment rallies, they made up over 30% of all the participants. So, why did these women show up with their right sticks? First, many were upset with Yoon's policies, especially his move to weaken the Ministry of Gender Equality. Second, these women had been through collective traumatic events like the Gangnam Station murder, the nth room scandal, and the deepfake controversy, which made it clear that neither the government nor political institutions can protecting them well. They realized it was better to organize among themselves and take direct action. And they even experienced the changes due to their action. This experience naturally brought them out to the street to join the rallies. It is also important to note that their activism grew out of digital culture. There was no formal organization, no hidden agendas, and no binding commitment. They skillfully connected through social media, forming loose yet strong bonds. They did not hesitate. If solidarity was needed, they showed up. Carrying right sticks and voicing their opinions was a familiar way for them to express themselves. Yeah, one of the most touching moments from the right stick rallies was the emergence of the so-called prepaid support. People who could not make it to the rallies prepaid food and coffee at nearby restaurants and cafes so protesters could eat and drink for free. The rally sites were overflowing with coffee, kimbap, fish cakes, hot packs, sanitary pads, water, phone chargers, you named it. Yeah, this is the impeachment coffee versus, yeah. And this prepaid culture worked out really well during what they called the 남태령 battle, when 10,000 protesters were doing an all-night sit-in in minus 10 degrees Celsius freezing cold. Regular citizens sent heating buses to keep them warm. It's very surprising, are you? And some even donated directly to farmers groups to show solidarity. The Franciscan order opened their bathrooms and shelters to protesters. When photos and stories spread on social media, netizens sent donations to the monastery. This clever prepaid idea was a perfect example of that loose but strong solidarity. Alongside cheering sticks, flaggers, and group chants, another big part of the impeachment rallies was the voices of diverse people. Teenagers, workers, farmers, young job seekers, feminists, LGBTQ plus folks, people with disabilities, immigrants, all kinds of everyday citizens without any special titles or affiliations stepped up to the free speech stage at the rallies. Sorry, I cannot find the picture because the private program many photos cannot take a picture, so I cannot find. Yeah. On the free speech stage, you heard a wide range of minority voices speaking out. They were not just demanding Yoon's resignation. They called for a world where queers, women, disabled people, and farmers can all live safely and well together. They also raised critical and diverse issues such as feminism, war, anti-feminism, war, climate crisis, animal rights, discrimination, and hate speech. The biggest difference with the right stick rallies compared to earlier protests was how much social minorities and diversity stood out. The wide variety of right sticks, creative flaggers mixing identities and humor, and citizens' speeches representing different genders, generations, and regions clearly showed this diversity and the active role of participants. Second, the impeachment rallies created strong feelings of empathy and solidarity. The sense of we can stand together was shared at many rallies. Prepaid support became a common sign of solidarity during the impeachment movement. The warm solidarity at Namtaeryong expanded endlessly to connect workers, farmers, healthcare, and disability groups. Within 4 days, 1 billion won was raised for the Jeon Tae-il Medical Center with a goal of 5 billion won. So many examples like that. Yeah. Third, citizens experienced growing democratic awareness through communication, empathy, and learning from strangers. By building power with their words, citizens pressured the National Assembly, commanded hesitant judges, impeached Yoon, and helped convict those who supported the coup. In conclusion, diversity and coexistence, empathy and solidarity, communication and learning from each other. These are undeniable values for the future and the social values Korean democracy must embrace for a different future. Thank you so much. This is the last portrait. It's a very honest longing of the Korean people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for wonderful discussions. Our next discussant is Professor Yu Ju-sung. Please come forward. Please give a big applause to Professor Yu.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah. Thank you for having me at the discussion. It's my honor to share a brief reflection on the precious presentation entitled K-Democrarcy against martial law-less-ness. Yeah. I ask your excuse because of my lack of English fluency. I will read a little bit what I prepared. So with the script, yeah. I will never forget the night of December 3, 2024. That night, the President Yoon declared an unconstitutional martial law order, essentially an attempted coup against Korea's constitutional system. Like many citizens, I watched the situation unfold on TV with confusion and fear. If I may, let me begin with a brief personal note. I graduated from Korean National Police University. So many of my former classmates served as mid-level police commanders. When martial law was declared, I became worried that if any of them carried out those orders, they could later face serious legal liability. So I sent a short message to our alumni group chat. This is an act of insurrection. Do not move. You will not be immune. When I look back, I think one moment was truly decisive. Right after martial law was declared, Professor Han In-seo, in front of me, posted a clear legal explanation on Facebook. It spread rapidly and offered crucial guidance to soldiers, police officers who had to make difficult decisions in a moment of real uncertainty. Because of his long study of the May 18 Gwangju uprising, he was able to give exactly the message that was needed. As a junior scholar, this taught me an important lesson that steady academic work can matter deeply in time of crisis. I want to take this moment to express my sincere gratitude to Professor Han. As novelist Han Gang wrote, that day was one when the past came to help the present, and the dead saved the living. A year has now passed since then. And we saw in today's presentation, the event of 2024, 2025 showed just how deeply democracy runs in Korea. With a mature democratic norms, citizens and the National Assembly succeeded in halting an authoritarian regression. But the crisis also revealed several unresolved and deeply legal challenges that Korea must confront to advance its democracy. Today, I'd like to focus on two key challenges that this crisis brought to light. The first is the right of soldiers and police officers to refuse unlawful orders. The second is the need to shift our system from bureaucratic justice toward civic justice. Let me begin with the issue of refusing unlawful orders. The constitutional culture in its impeachment decisions of President Yoon noted that the National Assembly was able to lift martial law quickly thanks to civic resistance and the passive response of the military and police. The presenter also highlighted that a defining feature of 2024 was the resistance shown by middle-level military commanders. So this leads to a key question. What could soldiers and police officers hesitate or even resist? They must have felt that something was clearly wrong and struggled with whether to obey, whether refusal was lawful, and whether disobedience might bring punishment. The reason the orders felt so long is simple. The executive branch was trying to use the military to stop the normal functions of the legislature and the judiciary. That violates our basic democratic instinct. It's like trying to resolve a disagreement with a fist rather than with conversation. And through history, education, media, and daily democratic life, we know how dangerous that is. But civic common sense by itself is fragile. Strong hierarchies, traditions of absolute obedience, weak legal safeguards, and most importantly, in the military, the threat of criminal punishment can easily overwhelm a person's judgment. That is why I fully agree with the presenter's point. Korea must clearly provide both the legal duty and the legal protection for public officers who refuse unconstitutional or criminal orders. Recent proposals to remove the duty of obedience from public officials act are encouraging, but reform must also extend to military and police. Here, Germany offers an important lesson. Important lesson. Having faced the legacy to blind obedience under Nazis, German law now not only permits but requires soldiers to refuse criminal orders. This is a lesson we should take seriously in Korea. Now let me turn to the second issue, shifting from bureaucratic justice to civic justice. By bureaucratic justice, By bureaucratic justice, I mean a system where courts and prosecutors function like administrative hierarchies, driven by internal discipline, top-down command, and organizational logic, rather than as an institution accountable to the public for exercise of legal authority. In Korea, the roots of this system go back to the Japanese colonial period, when courts and prosecutors served as a tool of centralized rule. After liberation, the courts became a constitutional branch, and the prosecution was institutionally separated but continued to function as a quasi-judicial elite. Unlike the executive or the legislature, however, neither the judiciary nor the prosecution gained democratic legitimacy through elections. For a long time, people believed that judicial elites could make up for their lack of democratic legitimacy by showing neutrality, professionalism, and restraint. But this crisis made it clear how fragile that belief was. As the presenter pointed out, the prosecution's monopoly of investigation and indictments became politicized, and the judiciary's silence during martial law crisis, followed by several controversial rulings, greatly weakened public trust. This was not just individual failure. They exposed deep structural problems in democratic legitimacy. For this reason, restoring judicial power to the people through civic oversight and accountability is essential, and the crisis showed that key constitutional reforms are still unfinished. I would like to conclude with a question. Recently, thanks to the generous arrangement of Professor Taeyong Baek, we visited the Honolulu prosecutor's office and met with the deputy prosecuting attorney Thomas Brady and the prosecutor Melody Kahol-hu. What struck me most was how deeply civic participation is built into American criminal justice system through jury system, grand juries, and the election of prosecutors, and judges. Professor Han, given your long involvement in prosecutorial and judicial reform in Korea, I would greatly value your perspective. Yes, so which elements of the American model should Korea draw from as it moves toward civic justice, and which aspect should we approach with caution? I look forward to your insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Big applause for discussion, Professor Yu. Okay, our last discussant is Dr. Lee Yu Bong, who is a senior research fellow at Korean Legislative and Research Institute, and she is also a visiting scholar at the law school. Dr. Lee?
Ah, I- uh, Thank you for inviting me here, and I really appreciate Professor Pak to organize and mm, the invite everyone, including me, here to discuss a very meaningful topic. And I also really appreciate Professor Han to share very deep founding and experience and insight to us. Thank you for everyone. And it's a really honor to be here for me. Everybody talked about the experience, what they did at December 3 and 2024. Of course, I was in Korea and in Sejong City. And then actually, I was moved to Seoul and that night. But I felt I didn't go there. I didn't want to go there. I didn't know why, because I didn't know what happens at after soon at the time, but I didn't go there anyway. And then, but after back to my home, I realized what happened in the Seoul, and everybody rushed to Congress, in front of Congress, and then uh, I I think it's real. Is it what is it fake news? I thought like that, and but as time goes by, I realize that it's not uh, the fake news, and so I couldn't sleep at all at night. And then I until the Congress passed the decision to repeal that the martial law, and I couldn't sleep at all. So and just after sleeping 1 hour, I went to Seoul for my business in the early morning. That's my experience at that moment. And I want to talk about what we uh, what we got, and then what should we do. Uh, I That the December 3 incident was unexpectedly encountered by the entire nation, because it was broadcasted live online, and as everyone were present at the scene itself. So, reading Professor Han's paper, I was struck once again by how vividly he depicted the unfolding events, almost as though he was standing in every street corner, tracing the pulse of the moments from the closest vantage point. This narrative gathers those moments together and summons us back into time and the place. In this way, the December 3rd martial law and uprising imprinted open Koreans, both the light and the darkness of democracy, vividly and in a way that will be remembered for a long time. What those lights and shadows truly were. We are invited to reflect often again through our lived experience and through Professor Han's presentations. And I would like to pose questions to Professor Han and to myself and to all of you here so that we may think together. Maybe it's very difficult. I want to talk about the first shadow as we witness the undesirable modern democracy fed by divisions and discriminations. So Korean society, like many countries in the world, having not many, having elevated arrogance and dogmatism into leadership, cannot avoid asking why such events occur. Actually, a lot of countries that kind of things happen these days. So, but the um, what- I'm sorry. The ideal image of democracy grounded in reasons, where different views are reconciling through debates and to reach the best possible decision, unfortunately, is now difficult to find. The politicians that thrive on vilifying opponents and amplifying self-interest and difference to build a partisan followings have become a commonplace in campaign. It's actually amplified by the media, such as like YouTube. These forces replicate themselves rapidly. The politician has begun to feed on the darker instincts of human nature rather than reasons. Ultimately, we witnessed shocking scenes in the Western District Court where reason and the rule of law has ceased to function. Now, 1 year after the December 3 incidents, the adversary we face is actually more deeply rooted and more tenacious and less visible, like a transformer in the movie that hides in plain sight. How can we strengthen our immunity? I want to ask against such a very deep-rooted phenomenon. Is the concept of defensive democracy proposed after World War II or defend against extremely human malignancy still urgently needed today? Or do we require a new vaccine suited to our own era? I want to ask these kind of things. Now, I want to talk about the second shadow. That is about threat to the rule of law. The final uh, bastion of law and justice is said to be the court, like Professor Han's presentations, uh, which must judge independently according to law and conscience. As Professor Han's presentation noted, the architect of modern democracy and the rule of law envisioned such an ideal state. Yet, the destroyer of democracy also sought to disable the court through the irregular exercise of appointment power and the undue influence over the judiciary. They politize the courts by structurally distorting fair procedure and judgment. By dragging political rival, we saw many things uh, uh, into courtroom. They turned the judiciary into a battleground, juridifying politics itself. Uh, yes. This process gravely undermined the trust in prosecutors and judicial proceedings and the courts themselves, restoring trust in the judiciary, the final bastion of law and justice, has become an urgent task. Actually, Professor Peck and my colleagues was talking about that for one semester. Um, some propose a democratization of judiciary as can be a solution. Um, then one measure, and then should our society adopt to counter judicial politicization and the juridification of politics is a quick question. Then I want to talk about light from now on. And then one light is about justice and common sense evolving into living strength. The December 3 incident confronted us with pressing question about and question and task, whose resolution would determine the fate of the nation. We found ourselves like Oedipus before the Sphinx, facing riddles that demanded answer. Uh, Yet, as a presentation illustrated, we discovered those answers in beautifully crafted literature passages. Can the past help the present? Can the dead save the living? The answer is yes. Remarkably, we found it within the communal culture of Korean society, nurtured by conscious and common sense, and within the legal text that had seemed dormant but was in fact alive. Like in Professor Han's presentation, Criminal Code 1953, enacted after destruction of the Constitution by President Power, and the current constitutions born 1987, Democratic Uprising, both contain the imprints of violence against humanity and the memory of conscious human existence. Okay. Yeah, I talk about this slides. Like tree rings etched by uh, hot summers and cold winter, the traces of history were embedded in our laws. Thus, we witnessed the grand scene in which justice and common sense emerged as a light and strength. Um, what then we have to ask, what efforts must we now make to preserve these DNA of conscious and common sense? Then I want to talk about last point is another light from fragment crowded to individual united in communities. The Constitution set forth the structure of state institution and the fundamental right of the people, basically. It declares sovereignty belongs to the people and all states' power emanates from the people. Yet, in practice, it is difficult to feel. On the night of December 3, however, the people appeared as an active subject, defending the destroyed constitutions and I'm sorry, defending the destroyed constitution and realizing constitution values. Each brought forth what was most precious, their favorite, uh, in Korea, 최애, their brightest, and together they acted with one heart. The precious thing was the spirit of constitutions. This event confirmed that constitution is a center of our community values. So we must ask, is that the place given to the citizen in our current uh, legal framework sufficient, or must we create more active and participatory role? Has the time come for our constitution grounded in our representative democracy and um, okay, I'm sorry, and party politics to open more proactive space for the people? What vessel should the future constitution become? Okay, yes, it's the last part. Um, Having passed through the December 3, we have become like a deep-rooted trees and deep springs of water, the resilience of democracy. This is a transformation of our experience and consciousness into how our history and culture, becoming the DNA of our community. And now it flows outward into the sea of the world. So I want to end it by saying these very clear and popular as praise in Korean, written in Sejong, King Sejong's era. A deeply rooted tree is not swayed by the wind. Its blossoms are beautiful and the fruits are abundant. A deep spring does not dry in drought, and it becomes a sea. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a beautiful discussion. Okay, so Professor Han, please come forward. And because we are running out of time, I'm sorry, but I will ask you to stay 10 more minutes. So we will continue until 4:30. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand and ask the question. And then Professor Han may answer to the question, also including the questions that our discussion raised. So we will have only 1 or 2 rounds. So do you have any questions or comments? Yes, Professor Yang Myung-ji.
Okay, sorry, I was late, so I missed the first couple of presentation, but thank you for your presentation. It seems that you all think Korean democracy's future is very positive. Of course, we should be proud of our democratic victory that we achieved last year. But I think we shouldn't be limited in the notion of democracy in terms of institutions and law and things like that. Rather, I think the bigger challenges is the how to achieve democratic norms and spirit, right? So, of course, the president was impeached, and now we have new government, and it seems doing okay. But in terms of substantive democracy, I don't think many things have changed at all. So look at our daily life. Did social inequality got better? Gender inequality got better? How about people's welfare, safety nets, etc.? So I think if we cannot fundamentally address this kind of problems, there is always a risk of democratic reversal and regression. So I'm wondering from now on, how can we make our democracy better beyond democratic institutions and just legal order?
This is a question for Professor Han. In your presentation, you defined that the only reasons that martial law could be declared were in case of war, and you mentioned something else. But I think, practically speaking, there may be other circumstances where there may be some national emergency. And so when we look around at other examples, for example, in the United States today, where the president is taking action by sending troops into various cities and states, there may be other circumstances where something may approach similar to martial law. So I'm not challenging you, but you are taking an extremely legal definition when politics and government is practical, not only legal. Thank you.
Yeah.
제가 이 계엄이라고 하는 무시무시한 어떤 공포스러운 체제에 당면했을 때 사람들은 본능적으로 굉장히 두려워하고 도망치고 싶고 숨고 싶고 해가지고 어마어마하게 위축이 됩니다. 위축이 되고 호플리스한 상태에 처하게 되면 이 챌린저를 극복해낼 수가 없습니다.
So when a situation like martial law comes, people are necessarily very afraid of the situation and shrink, and they don't know how to respond properly at that situation.
그래서 제가 강조하고 싶었던 것은 우리가 주인이다. 시민 한 명 한 명이 주인이니까 그에 대하여 어떠한 두려움을 갖지 말라. 우리가 시민 한 명 한 명이 두려워하지 않고 당당하게 서게 되면 내가 당당하게 서면 적이 위축이 됩니다. 내가 움츠르면 적이 더 압도하게 overwhelm 하게 되니까 그에 대해서 저는 모든 시민들에게 우리가 힘을 가지고 있다. 우리가 key player of this nation 입니다 하는 것을 강조해서 저 적들이 굉장히 힘이 센 것 같지만 국민들이 노하면 그 힘이 다 사라져버린다. 그래서 우리는 정확하게 판단하고 이 경우에 당신들은 민주주의를 배반했고 헌법을 위배했고 당신들은 범죄를 저질렀기 때문에 당신들은 국가 권력을 내놔야 되고 처벌받아야 될 그런 존재라고 하는 것을 인지적으로 분명하게 알려줘야 되는 것이 필요하다고 생각했습니다.
So I wanted to emphasize that civilians, civil society is the subject, and they are the owner of the sovereignty, and they should not be afraid of the so-called enemy. And as long as they are confident and not afraid of the situation, probably the other side, the opponents, will be weakened and also shrinking. So the main message that I wanted to convey to the people is that even if they look very strong and powerful, in reality, they are not. And people should understand the nature of the development. They are committing crimes, and they should be punished for those illegal acts. And with that clear understanding of the situation, people can be the subject and respond to the situation properly. That's what I wanted to do.
네, 예를 하나 들자면 2024년 12월 7일 날 국회에서 탄핵 소추하려고 하다가 실패했어요. 그 사람들이 엄청나게 낙담하고 이제 안 되는 것인가 라고 할 때 저도 현장에 있으면서 낙담의 공기를 느끼면서 다시 새로운 인카리지를 해내야 됐습니다. 그것을 위하여 박근혜 탄핵 때 국회에서 탄핵 소추할 때까지 7주가 걸렸다. 그런데 지금 우리는 4일 지났을 뿐이다. 앞으로 7주까지 늘 즐겁게 웃으면서 당당하게 당신들은 탄핵당해야 될 존재다 라고 하는 것을 즐겁게 웃으면서 이야기하고 다음 12월 14일은 친구를 데리고 같이 나와서 하자. 저는 국민의 소리는 결국 나라를 움직인다고 생각합니다. 실제로 그러했고요. 그래서 14일 날 탄핵 소추가 됐잖아요.
So on December 7th, the first efforts to pass the impeachment bill at the National Assembly was not successful. And there was an atmosphere of disappointment and despair. And I also felt that this disappointment myself. However, I wanted to encourage the people that this is not the end. In fact, when President Park Geun-hye was impeached, to achieve the impeachment, it took 7 weeks. And today is only after 4 days from the martial law decree. And we may continue this demonstration for 7 weeks, merrily, with confidence. And we should continue with a smile and also laughter and enjoy this process with the people. And then I argued that and also persuaded that we will eventually win. And therefore, I asked them to come next week with more friends. In fact, after 1 week, on December 14th, the impeachment bill at National Assembly passed.
우리가 대통령을 탄핵시킨다고 사회경제적 불평등이나 소수자에 대한 차별이 바로 해소되는 게 아닙니다. 그렇지만 저런 대통령을 탄핵도 안 시키고 경제적 불평등이나 사회적 소수자에 대한 박해가 해결될 리는 더더욱 없죠. 그래서 저는 이 탄핵 과정에서 굉장히 많은 소수자들이 같이 연합을 하고 서로가 존중하는 이런 류의 과정을 통해서 우리가 점점 강해지고 점점 여유 있어지고 그 힘을 모아가지고 탄핵시켰을 때 그 자신감과 당당함을 가지고 앞으로의 더 어려운 문제, 경제적 불평등이나 사회적 다양성을 포함하는 문제를 풀어나갈 수 있는 힘을 비추겠다라고 생각합니다.
So it is true that impeachment does not guarantee the achievement or the eradication of inequality. And there are so many problems, but it is not really solved only with the impeachment. However, I think and I thought that without impeachment, no achievement of eradication of inequality is possible at all. Rather, with this process of impeachment, we establish an alliance among minorities, and we respect people who are suffering. And by making alliance and also solidarity with those disfavored group, we become stronger. And with that kind of process, we become more powerful. So with confidence and with pride, we should continue, I think, continue to work. And that process will eventually achieve further economic equity and eradication, or at least relieving the inequality problem in the society.
저분 질문에 대해서.
And now, next to the question of John.
계엄이라고 하는 것은 군대를 시민사회 도시 한가운데 끌어들인다는 겁니다. 한마디로 이야기하자면. 그러면 군대를 도시 한가운데 끌어들여서 거기에 방해되는 어떤 국민들의 활동을 완전히 다 봉쇄해버린다라고 하는 것인데, 그것이 전쟁하에서 불가피할 수 있지만 전쟁 유사 상황을 가지고 군대를 도시 한가운데 끌어들인다는 것은 그것은 독재의 도구일 뿐이지 진짜 계엄 목적과는 상관이 없는 일이다는 것이고, 그리고 그것이 1980년에 우리가 마지막 계엄인데요. 1980년에 광주에 군대를 투입을 해서 광주 시민들이 그냥 완전 위축되고 조용히 있었으면 그 다음에 계엄이 계속 나왔을 것 같아요. 그런데 그때 광주 시민들이 목숨을 걸고 아까 소년들이까지 저항을 했잖아요. 그것 때문에 시민들이 많이 죽었습니다. 그러고 난 뒤에 군인들이 한국의 도시 가운데에 군인들을 진출시킨다는 엄두를 못 냈어요. 1987년에 한국의 시민항쟁이 극도로 일었을 때 군대를 투입하려고 했는데 군인들이 또다시 우리가 학살의 완전 도구로 해야 될 것이라고 그건 다시 할 수 없다는 엄청난 교훈이 작용해서 결국 1980년에 광주의 희생이 더 이상 계엄령의 시대를 막아낸 거죠. 그런데 2024년에 윤석열이 엉뚱한 짓을 하다가 그 기억을 가지고 있는 국민들이 그냥 물리쳐버린 것입니다.
Martial law brings in military in society, and it removes those activities of civilian in time of war generally. Without war or war-like situation, if the military is summoned and used to suppress the people's activities, it can be easily become a tool of a dictatorship. In fact, in 1980 in Gwangju, the military was deployed and Gwangju citizens were massacred. If the Gwangju civilian did not protest and fought against the martial law with their death, many death involved, probably there would have been continuous martial law afterward. However, because they fought against the martial law, actually they made it clear that military should not be used for dictatorship, and it actually made in 1987 democratization possible. When people's protests were all over in 1987, military never couldn't dare to think that they can suppress the civilian in 1987. And Yoon Suk Yeol, after this long kind of the history of democracy, Yoon Suk Yeol finally again attempted to use military with this martial law, but it was not successful.
우리 요 앞에 유 선생님 질문에 대해서 미국의 사법제도로부터 한국이 어떤 배울 수 있는 그런 부분이 무엇이 있느냐라고 하는데, 현재 한국의 입법부와 행정부는 국민으로부터 선출이 돼 가지고 운영이 되게 되는데, 사법부는 국민들의 의사가 실현될 수 있는 공식적인 제도가 거의 덜 돼 있습니다. 거기까지 할까요?
So responding to Professor Yu's question, his question is about lessons we can learn from American legal system. In Korea, judiciary, legislative body and administration branch are all elected by the people's general vote. However, judiciary body is not actually reflecting the common opinions of the people, and there is no system to reflect that people's will.
미국 내에서는 비판이 많겠지만 우리가 사법부에서 말하자면 국민의 의사가 반영되지 못하는 그 구조에서 우리가 진실로 부러워하는 것은 재판 과정이 투명하게 공개되어야 된다는 것이고, 그 다음에 사법부의 판사나 이런 사람들의 선출 과정에서 국민의 의사가 어느 방식으로 반영되어야 된다는 것이고, 그 다음 재판 과정에서 배심제적인 원리가 도입이 되어서 국민들이 사법부 구성원을 선출하는 것, 그 다음 사법 과정이 투명하게 운영되는 것, 그 다음에 재판 과정에서 어떤 참여하는 것, 이런 것들을 한국적 특성에 맞게 어떻게 제도화할까에 대한 고민을 계속 해왔고, 저는 그 다음에 주장도 계속 해왔고, 제한된 범위 내에서 배심제적인 운영이 조금 들어오는 정도에 이르는데 너무 미흡하다. 그래서 사법 관료들의 독점적 지배, 체제가 구축되고 있으니까 그것들의 폐단이 이번에 완전히 드러나 버렸다. 그래서 본격적으로 개혁을 해야 될 시점이다. 이렇게 생각합니다.
There could be criticism over U.S. legal system. However, we think there are some aspects that Korea can learn from the U.S. system, especially the transparency and openness of the judicial process is important elements that I think, for example, in election process and also in the process of a court proceeding, there are ways to reflect people's will, and that jury trial system, for example, South Korea also emulated and adopted in part. However, in the U.S., either through election or transparent management of court procedure and also civil participation in judicial process, there are many ways that civil participation is guaranteed. And in South Korea, we tried to learn some of them. However, and I myself have done research and had argued, advocated for changes, and some judicial jury trial system had been adopted in South Korea, but it is not enough to prohibit or fight against the monopolization of judicial power by some bureaucratic judiciary people in monopolization of power by the bureaucratic judiciary is still a big problem, and more reform measure should be considered, I think. I'm not sure whether this is 제가 제대로 다 통역했는지 모르겠습니다. 최대한 노력을 하고 있습니다.
저는 공적인 영역에서 시민들은 실제로는 이만큼의 힘을 50만큼의 힘을 가지고 있다고 생각하는데 우리 헌법상으로 시민들에게 주어지는 힘은 100이거든요. 100인데 실제로는 50 내지 30밖에 못 가지고 있는 것 아닌가. 그렇게 늘 생각을 하고 있으니까 아니 당신들은 50이 아니라 100의 포텐셜과 권리를 가지고 있는 것이다. 이것을 일깨우고 why not? 왜 권리를 주장하지 못하겠느냐. 예를 들자면 청소년은 한국의 격언 중에 청소년은 나라의 미래다 이런 말이 있습니다. 저는 반대하거든요. 청소년은 나라의 현재다. 현재 권리를 주장할 수 있어야지 나라의 미래다라고 하는 것은 현재 권리를 주장하지 마. 너희들은 배워야 할 약하고 나약한 존재다. 그럴 때 아니 우리 인간으로서 같은 휴먼 디그니티 앤드 밸류를 이퀄리하게 가지고 있는 것이다. 그래서 그에 대해서 각자가 이상하면 어색하면 그 말이 안 되네요. 그거는 우리 생활의 정의관에 맞지 않아요. 이런 이야기를 늘 자유롭게 할 수 있어야 된다. 그래서 50을 100으로 올리는 것이 시민형 법률가의 역할이다고 생각합니다.
Even if citizens should have 100% of the sovereign power, in reality they may occupy only 50% of power, or maybe even they feel that they are only the owner of 30% of the whole state power. In reality, they should be given the power, and they should actually operate the whole 100% power. This is very similar to this slogan. There is a slogan in Korea, the youth is the future of our country. But in my view, the youth is not the future of my country, but they are still the present owner of this country. So their rights should not be denied only talking about the future. They should be given enough human rights as a part of our citizen, as a youth. Equal values should be given to their human rights as well. In this way, currently citizens in Korea are using only 50% power, and I think I am trying to advocate and educate the people that you are 100% owner of the sovereign power of the country. I think we should end soon. So do you have any final word in English? In English?
I think everyone has their, in their mind hope and pleasure. And with hope and pleasure, we have to break through many difficulties, the difficulties. And in my mind, I don't have any fear to the President Yoon. Yoon is my servant. President is my servant. You have to serve. Very good. If you don't, if you don't make a good service to me, you have to fire. And everyone has. You have to be fired by myself, by ourselves. And but you exercise very pleasantly your duty. Okay, 1 year longer, 1 year longer. Totally 5 years term is finally guaranteed. And I think I'm citizen. Citizen is a very powerful. Citizen is a key player in maneuvering our nation. And in my mind, anytime hope and pleasure, and with the hand, bench and bench. I think so.
Thank you very much. Please, the discussions come forward. Yeah, let's have a big bow and everybody can applaud. Afterwards, say, yeah, thank you very much.